That is going to be so much better than what I did before. I still have this, there's still movement here, which means I'm aligned. And I've got good clamp pressure here. I wiped off the squeeze out on the sides here. But you can see I've got good squeeze out along the edges. I'll clean that up here a little later. That's going to be sweet right there. Getting ready to mortise these for these T-nuts. And if you remember, the holes we drilled were slightly oversized, so I'm using a flathead screw here, and when it hits that hole, that helps center it up, center that T-nut up on that hole. And then I'll just take a marking knife and mark these out so that I can get a nice clean mortise, you know, nice and tight. So I'll do that to both of them here, and then we'll come back and take a look at them. Well, one thing we have to do before we put this together is we have to cut a little relief cut here for the tape. I don't want this thing riding on top of this. I want it on the tubing, and I also want those mag switches to contact the tubing. So this groove just has to be, you know, maybe 1/16 of an inch deep is all. Not a big deal. But the other thing that's going to happen here is, because I want this to be reversible, I'm going to be mounting this out here on this side. And so then if I go to the left side of the blade and I want to flip it, I can do it that way. But my T-nuts are also going to be right there with that tape, just probably 1/3 of the way onto it. So I've got to cut that groove first and make sure that my mortises for my T-nuts are below that surface, so that they don't rub on this tape either. So now you can see why you want to get these mortises chopped first, so that, because you're working with two different levels here, and it's easier to get this done first and then come and remove the material on top of it. So now I just have to get my T-nuts in here and make sure that they're below this surface. And if they aren't, then I've got to just remove a little more material out of that, each of those mortises. But I think it looks pretty good. So let me put them in there and we'll see how it looks. All right, we're good to go. These things are just slightly below the surface, just ever so slightly. You know, and even if they were just ever so slightly proud of the surface, they'd still be below, or they wouldn't make contact with the tape because this groove is deep enough. So that looks good. Just test fitted my saddles, took them out of the clamps, and they're just a hair tight. So I'm hitting the inside surfaces with my sanding block here, and because this paper wraps around the edges, I don't want to mess with this side here. So I just put some tape on there, and that keeps it from sanding on that edge. But this works out pretty well this way. Is smooth. This one works really well too. I had to sand this one just a smidge too. So my tolerances were just a little snug, but that is going to be a fantastic little saddle there, both of them.